Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I told you before, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to what's happening in venture capital. Why? Because 2020, we saw a ton of new companies get started and also a little bit of reallocation around investments. Some investors that were once investing locally in their region decided to expand and go global, and vice versa. And because of that, they also may have changed industries. We saw industries that had been once promised for decades to come all of a sudden start to get massive amounts of funding because they started to accelerate their adoption. And furthermore, we saw the massive growth of the SPAC industry. We also saw a ton of new funds globally. Fund 1, Fund 2, Fund 3, Fund 7s all around the world. Billions of dollars going into new funds to then translate into millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars going into companies all around the world. But today we're going to focus on that early stage, that seed, that first or second round of companies. What's happening? What's happening around the world? Why is this important? And also maybe what industries are starting to see a lot of this activity more than others as well. And we've brought some of the best and the brightest from all corners of around the world to share their thoughts and insights and on the ground perspective with you and with us about this as well. And also a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and Maria for making today's episode of VCTV possible. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce today's guest. Susan, welcome back to the show. A little introduction and background for everybody.
Sure. I'm a managing partner at Can Do Ventures. It's a early stage fund, and I live in Silicon Valley. 5 minutes from my alma mater, Stanford and Sandhill Road. So I'm in the center of action, let's put it that way. And we're investing on earlier stage companies. We call them we call them basic technologies: blockchain, blockchain, AI, SaaS, IoT, and cloud infrastructure. And our check size is usually between, for the first round, it's $500 to $1 million.
Wonderful. Thank you for letting us know the first round check as well. This is very important for those that are listening around early stage and seed investing, understanding how investors think, 1, 2, where they invest, and then 3, that average ticket size as well. That can play a very impactful role in your round, either as someone that may be a lead investor based on their check size, or someone who may be just a general add-on and value add investor as well. But we're going to continue and talk a little bit more about that here as we move on. Adrian, welcome back to the show. A little introduction and background, please.
Thank you very much for having me here again in the VC TV family. I'm Adrian Niculescu, serial entrepreneur and investors. My genius zones are marketing, sales, and business development, and I love keeping my hands full in these areas. Besides my advisory roles and board membership slots, I'm actively involved with CloudCoin Consortium. CloudCoin is a post-blockchain digital currency, faster capital, a Dubai-based accelerator and incubator for startups. Sara Global Venture, which is a London-based venture capital firm, and also I'm involved as a mentor in Virgin Startups program in UK. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Adrian, as well. Vince, welcome to the show. First-time guest with us here on VCTV. It's an honor. A little introduction, a little background for everybody who may not know you.
Great, Kyle. Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Vince Lane. I am a senior advisor and director for Sangs Group. We're a family office located in London, Shanghai, Beijing, Hong Kong, and now opening offices in San Francisco and Dubai. We invest globally, both venture capital world and private equity, in multiple different industries. And we find it very exciting what's going on in the world right now, and we like to look at ourselves as the bridge between the East and the West.
Wonderful. Thank you. Again, to the audience, keynote, bridge. That is a key word you want to hear from an investor if you're looking to go global and also looking to go global in a particular region. For what that means from context from someone who's built in those 2 areas, you've got a great investor who can provide you resources, support, and knowledge on building and developing in 2 areas, something to stay positive about. Next up, Kate, welcome back to the show. A little intro and background for everybody.
Hi, everyone. So great to be here. I have amazing news to share, and we're celebrating today. As many of you know, I am a co-founder and partner of Chloe Capital, and we're a movement-driven venture capital firm that invests in women-led technology companies around the world with diverse leadership teams. We have been raising our 25 million impact fund, and today is the next close of our fund, and we are welcoming ECMC Group, a multi-billion-dollar corporation, to our fund as our anchor investor. So it's just very exciting to be here today and to celebrate with all of you. This means that we are going to continue to deploy capital to women-led technology companies. We are specifically looking for climate change. That will be our next program. You may also know that Chloe Capital travels around the US holding Shark Tank style programs that help catalyze fundraising efforts for women. And on average, our program participants end up raising about $1.5 million. So we're very excited about this. We've catalyzed about $40 million since we've started the programs. And our next program is in partnership with New York State and Cornell University. And again, it will be on diversity in climate tech.
Wow, congratulations, Kate, to you and the team on that close. It's very exciting. Again, congratulations to you, to the entire team as well. Last but not least, John, welcome to the show as well. First-time guest with us here at VCTV. A little introduction and background.
Well, thank you very much for having me on today. It's an honor and I appreciate it. I'm founding partner of FF Venture Capital. We're a seed to early B stage firm based in New York City. I'm actually in our office in the Empire State Building today, which is kind of empty, but that's another story. We've been around about 13 years. We have 74 active portfolio companies. And, you know, it's kind of interesting. We tend to invest when there's no revenue and next to no market cap. The market cap of our companies that exits about 2.7 billion. Of our companies in the portfolio, about 7.5 billion. So over $10 billion of sort of value created under our watch. In addition, our company's revenue run rate is just shy of $1 billion. So, we're very much about survivorship. In fact, half our seed funded companies end up raising a Series B, which is about 5 times the industry average. Predominantly across the US, though, we have a fund now in Warsaw, looking at Central and Eastern Europe as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, John. And with that, actually, I want to kick off with you on our first question. As you started to kind of tease out some of the trends, and would love to present the question to everybody is, what are some of the latest trends throughout global early stage venture and seed capital, whether it's looking at different industries or, again, trends we talked about earlier today, the amount of crowdfunding opportunities, also the ways to raise capital in general has changed. What are some of the trends that you're starting to see throughout early stage venture? John, we'll start with you as you kind of began that with what you guys are doing at ffVC.
So what you naturally see during a downturn is a crop of interesting companies that come after that. And I've been seed investing since late 99, so we've seen a number of downturns. And we anticipate that 2021 and 2022 will have a crop of very, very interesting companies. There's reasons behind that. The cost of starting a company takes a step function down. Talent has the opportunity to sort of step up. Maybe they lose their job, or maybe they say, given the opportunities they see, it's a great time to put money to work and to put their talent to work. In addition, this particular downturn has led to enormous change in the behavior of people. And that is creating opportunities around that. So those are sort of the macro dynamics that we're seeing. Areas that interest us, similar to areas we were interested in before: drones, robotics, change in fintech, applied AI. All of those we think get a boost. There's some very interesting things going on in the e-commerce and e-commerce enablement space, and we're particularly intrigued around aspects around privacy, as I think there's been an increased understanding of how much people are tracked in this digital world we live in.
You're absolutely right, and in some cases, how much we're tracked that we don't know about as well, and the amount of information we've put out there over really the last year. And not to put a pin so much on that, but because we did move so quickly into living these digital lives that some of us hadn't beforehand, there's a massive amount of information that's out there. And I think that's a great trend to note. Kate, to you, same question, trends that you are seeing at Chloe Capital, but in general with some of your other roles as well. And crowdfunding, I know, is part of that as well, but I'll let you take it from here.
Yes, thanks so much. So I was able to share about Chloe Capital, but as some of you may know, I'm also a venture partner with Republic, which is a crowdfunding platform, and the chief investment officer of Social Venture Circle, which is a network of impact investors. So these actually are all three very different personas when you're dealing with venture capital and early stage investing, crowdfunding and early stage investing, and angel investing and early stage investing. But there are common trends across three. And the first is the opportunity to sink your teeth into emerging markets like e-learning, like layering on SaaS on top of behemoth industries like construction, to the point where you get prefab homes and workforce tools, as well as to place bets on underrepresented founders like women and people of color. We perform better in crisis, and the pandemic validated Chloe Capital's investment thesis. And then the third is to look at companies that are outside of Silicon Valley. Because of amazing streaming platforms like StreamYard and Zoom and Teams, we no longer need to be in certain geographic areas. So that was also another validator. So again, it's emerging markets, underrepresented founders, and geographically outside of Silicon Valley.
Great points. And Susan, with that, I want to come to you. I mean, you're based here in the Bay Area. You yourself have looked at companies locally, but now also kind of expanding globally. What other trends are you seeing in addition around early stage and seed investing?
Right. In terms of space, different spaces that we're looking into, I can see platform as a service is trending, and mostly software deals are flowing to us. Hardware, maybe because of COVID, we see less deals coming up. But I feel when we surveyed our portfolio companies about their basically about how COVID impacted them, they all reported that actually the performance rate is higher in software industry, because software engineers, they need focus, and they are night owl usually. So it really doesn't matter for them where they are. They need to code, and maybe office was more distracting for them, being at the office and the workplace. So we see higher performance in our software portfolio companies. In terms of the deal flow and having international entrepreneurs to actually, for the first time, dare to come and present to us. It's just like they can afford it now. Before they had to fly over, set up a meeting, and meet with you. And now it takes them a Zoom call to put themselves in your radar. And honestly, for the first time, we started investing during the COVID in Latin America and Europe. And we're looking at a few deals in Asia for the first time. Most of these companies have been registered in the US, and they have planned to come here, but we don't mind if they are using more reasonable resources, like development team in other countries, and anything that can save the company at that time. But in terms of this space, I see no code trending as well. No code, low code. Low code to me is just a buzzword. That's exactly API-driven platforms and SaaS software. But no code is very interesting, and I'm looking at a few deals right now, and I feel that because I'm coming from the entrepreneurship side, and I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. I can see that, especially in software, it's very important for the entrepreneurs, marketing and business teams to try things first before spending so much, millions of dollars on a software that might not be a good solution for a defined problem. So I'm excited about that because I think for the first time we can have these teams to try things before going so deep down into that. So and women, well, I'm glad that we have another representation of female investors. I can see that we have a network of 40 LPs, over 40 LPs that are co-investing alongside of us. And I can see women are more into investing nowadays. Over $70 trillion of the world wealth is controlled by women. But traditionally, women haven't been investing on high risk and high return investment technology per se. So I can see more women are investing and in technology, which is great because that definitely breaks the vicious cycle of not having that many investors investing on female entrepreneurs because they just don't understand their role.
And one thing I totally want to touch on as well, in addition to that, is the no code, low code. So really no code has also opened up the possibility for people just to try in general to build something they may have always wanted to, right? Without having the knowledge. And even on the AI side, just to tease it out there, I know it's a little still complex, but even GTP3 that we saw, midsummer last year coming out, opened up this whole new world of artificial intelligence and how that may play a role in your company, product, or service. And you don't necessarily need to know the deep inner workings of artificial intelligence to build that from the ground up. That being said, you should still have some knowledge around how AI can be applied to the data and have privacy built in, as John mentioned as well. But nonetheless, it gives this whole new world to try things that others may not have. And seeing a year, as John had painted that picture for us, of what happened with 2020 and what's happening this year, that will probably be a continued trend. We're going to see more companies. We're going to see more products come out. We're going to see more APIs and SDKs, software development kits, that will be out there for people to start plugging away and building, using pieces of the Legos, if you will, and plugging these together to see what they can make, which could be some really cool.
Especially with COVID pushing people out of their comfort zone, losing their job. Now they can, think about starting their own company. So as you mentioned before, we will see more of the deal flow coming probably in the next 2 years.
Absolutely. I mean, the comfort zone, take a step out and wonderful things can happen. Vince, to you, same question. What are you seeing trend-wise around early stage venture? And again, thank you, Susan, as well. So Vince.
I think we're in an interesting time, and it kind of reminds me when I was a young lad, when the first internet was kind of coming up. It was just an exciting time, all these new companies. And, I get probably a different view just because, we are global, and I get to see what's happening in different parts of the world since we have offices and we get deals coming in from all over. The big trends that I see happening is, one, in this whole green initiative that's happening not only in the United States with Biden just approving the $2 trillion green initiative, but also in China moving to all EV cars. That whole space is exploding. You see that innovation taking place merged with the software, using all the different SaaS models and being able to customize all your applications. It's all kind of converging together. And additionally, now that we have that base, we're moving into sort of 5G technology for Wi-Fi mobile technology, and then all the applications that are coming on with that. I mean, we've seen that already. We have one portfolio company that went public last year, ffVC, which we were able to, bring public on the New York Stock Exchange. And, we are bringing sort of this whole digital media piece to the market, right? So you're seeing the convergence of that. With artificial intelligence that's being used with the facial recognition, all of it's starting to kind of play together in sort of like one ecosystem. And I think that is really making things, move faster. Like even just with this channel here, digital media, right? Everybody's able to connect quicker. We don't need to fly. COVID has definitely reinforced that. You will see a big, exponential sort of like growth in terms of all these new technologies. So things that we find interesting is this whole, like I said, green initiative, the 5G overlay that's happening all over the world. And also on the other side, social awareness, right? There's the whole technology piece that's happening, but then there's the whole undercurrent of social awareness is taking place, right? So you don't have to be working at a company anymore. You can start your own company. You can make a change in the world. You can impact people with these new technologies that are coming out. And I think people are adopting that. And it's really changing the landscape of how not only the way companies think, investors think, but also how each individual that's growing up thinks too. So it's changing that whole dynamic, which is very, very exciting, right? We don't know what's going to happen, but we see the world changing for the better, hopefully. And a couple things that we find interesting, or I personally find interesting, is the whole aspect of space. That's one area, that industry that we find exciting. I just read, or I saw an article that in 2007, the first space hotel is going to open. I mean, to me, that's just craziness, right? As a child, you see people going to space and you're okay, well, that happens in the movies, but now it's becoming somewhat of a reality. And I think also a trend that we are seeing is the whole trend of SPACs, right? Love them or hate them, right? They're a vehicle that is allowing a company to move to the public markets to raise money quicker than they typically would in a typical IPO or just through a traditional debt market. So I find it very exciting. Hong Kong just launched their first first SPAC that they're going to allow on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. That's exciting. And I think all the people that are in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, that's also the area I live in. I actually run a group called Harvard Business School Alumni Association called Startup Partners. So like Susan mentioned, we see entrepreneurs coming from all around the world, doing all different types of ventures. And it's just blowing my mind every time I have a session and we have a new company and we provide these mentoring advisory services of where this world is headed to. So very exciting.
I think all of us couldn't agree more. I mean, part of what you mentioned too, I mean, the ability to do this type of interaction without having to travel, as we were talking about pre-show as well, is just phenomenal. It also has us being, in some cases busier than ever, which could be a good or a bad thing, as we do want to keep mental health a part and wellness part of the conversation as well. But to your point, I mean, this is just opening up so many doors and possibilities for more people than ever before, and making it more comfortable and acceptable as well. As we know, entrepreneurship is not always acceptable in many regions around the world, and even some cases here in the United States as well. So I think you're going to bring up in the space industry. All right, to the stars and beyond we go to stay in the space hotel. Looking forward to it. And also with Asia, something you brought up around the SPAC, Asia, in Hong Kong in particular, has a third exchange built for companies with less than 100 investors, and also little to no revenue. If you're building in particular industries, it's actually a vehicle to raise money from public markets. This was coming out pre the big SPAC boom that we had beginning last year as well. So we'll come back to Asia in just a moment. But Adrian, I want to make sure you get a little bit in as well. What are you seeing trend-wise around early stage?
I want to look at two things specifically. First, the fintech industry, which is still highly fragmented, and I see fintech companies on a weekly basis, new companies at the pitch deck stage, putting together solutions and services which seem to be from science fiction movies. Also in Europe, it's very interesting to see and to analyze the impact Brexit will have on the early stage startups. In the financial area, it is said that after New York in Europe, the next financial center is Amsterdam now, then London. And of course, the next big thing can come from anywhere. And this is very, very exciting.
Very exciting indeed. I was taking notes. Sorry for the delay there. I was taking notes on that future of fintech as well. It's very exciting. And With that, I want to come and focus on a few specific areas. So Vince, starting with you, in terms of Asia, and we've seen a lot of activity throughout Asia, and Asia's big. So maybe focusing on certain parts of Asia, what trends are you seeing in maybe industries that are particularly rising around Asia? You know, a few years ago, we had marketplaces and a sharing economy that were big demands. Today, we've got talk of blockchain and distributed everything coming out of China. We've got Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, South Korea, and many other areas. I didn't mention Singapore or Taiwan also that are starting to get much more traction in particular areas. But for you, what industries are you seeing in Asia? What's getting you excited as a trend that people should be paying attention to?
Sure. So I think it's interesting, you know, when I was younger too, and I heard about Asia, you hear about all these advancements that are happening, but it's not until you're really there and you actually see it in practice that you see how much more advanced certain areas are, right? We do have obviously a lot of innovation and technologies that begin here in the United States, but in terms of adoption, it really just accelerates in Asia. So one is, you know, their infrastructure with the sort of the mobile phone technology, right? That has really sort of just exploded in terms of digital media, in terms of just digital currency, the whole digital economy. It's craziness that you don't even really carry cash anymore, that you pay for everything with sort of your WeChat or your Alipay. You literally just leave the store. And we do have that sort of in the United States now with Amazon, but it happens a lot in Asia where this whole digital currency blockchain is really being developed. And I think what you'll see in the next couple of years is sort of those industries really kind of pushing forward. So digital currency, digital media, and how everyone and the tourism and the whole economy just moves around those technologies. So I think that's the basis and the catalyst of everything happening. What we're seeing in sort of the other Asian countries, if you will, sort of like some would call those more the third world countries. Well, those are the emerging markets, right? And in those emerging markets, you're starting to see a lot more commerce going there, manufacturing, right? Sort of, it's kind of trading places. China was the big manufacturing. Now they're sort of evolving. They still have the manufacturing piece, but a lot of other countries becoming cheaper. So it's a trickle down effect. You're seeing a lot of digital entrepreneurs that I know that are sort of outsourcing. So you're starting to see coding boot camps all forming up, like in Vietnam. I've just had some friends move there. They are attending boot camp. They're starting their own digital e-commerce company. So what you're seeing is a lot of the businesses that are core in a lot of these first world countries are starting to start like little boutique, little outlays out and satellites out in these sort of third world emerging markets, Asian countries.
It's a great point. And Susan, I want to come to you next on that. And then Kate, I got a big question for you. So get ready for some impact, if that doesn't tee you up well enough. So there you go. So Susan, to you, I mean, you know, some of these areas that Vince mentioned, you are also focused on. What are you seeing industry wise? I mean, blockchain, you and I could talk about forever, but blockchain, AI, SaaS, IoT, what else are you seeing? Or maybe dive a little deeper in some of the specific areas that you're seeing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with Vance that, you know, some of these technologies have been developed and used in other countries compared to the US. Like, for example, face recognition. You know, I mean, we can see this technology is everywhere in Asia and everyone comfortably using it. Yes, there are some pros and cons, but I think the pros definitely leverage on cons. We can see we just invested on a face recognition, GDPR compliant face recognition technology that helps the banks to recognize their customers, even when they're working with the stores or retailers and so on. And I can see that how Americans, they're getting more comfortable because, as I said earlier, pushing people out of their comfort zone definitely opens up opportunities. And some of these regulations that for no reason have been on the way are actually kind of easing up. And I think the main problem with our system in the US has been the fact that we have a lot of legacy infrastructure that we're not comfortable and easy to throw out and use these very nimble and easy technologies. But nowadays, especially after COVID, some of these problems have been solved, and we can see that these technologies that have been freely used in other countries now they're starting to gain ground in here.
Absolutely. And with that, Kate, talk to us a little bit about impact. I mean, you just raised and closed this fund, but in general, you and I have had tons of conversations here on VCTV around impact, sustainability, and now your big area of focus, climate. What are we seeing in terms of early stage activity around these areas that investors should be aware of? Oh, Kate, I think we had you on mute there for just a second.
All right.
My apologies.
That's okay. I was going to just give you a spanking and say, don't cut us off at the knees. We are definitely still raising. This is just a second close on our fund, and we still have much more to go so we can continue having an impact and invest in women-led technology companies. But in terms of people and planet is something that Social Venture Circle impact investors love to invest in. Investors are really going out there and making sure not only they're measuring the amount of impact the company or the solution is having on people and planet, but then they're measuring what their check is going to do to help catalyze the impact. So that's become a very high level of topic conversation. At Chloe Capital, we are really blessed to find champions. And I'd love to talk about Provider Pool for a second. This is Jana Westbrook and Rodney McGee. They are from St. Louis, and they have a platform that literally connects nurses to healthcare providers. So when we brought them on the Chloe Capital Invest in Women tour in New Orleans of February, they had really just launched their company. They had a couple pilot partners. They were building out the platform, the marketplace, which again finds nurses, says, here's the shift that's available. Here are the hours that are available. Here's the pay associated with it. This is a COVID situation. Submit your time card, and now we're going to pay you. I mean, it's literally an all-in-one platform. So this was just prior to COVID hitting, and they just exploded, obviously, after that. It was a very difficult time for them, as Jana herself was a former nurse, and many of her friends were experiencing COVID, and some of them passed away. So they really knew that they had to put their head down and think about the greater good and how many lives they were actually saving with this platform. We were in a nursing shortage. There was an absolute crisis at the onset of COVID, and really still now. So because of her platform, she was able to pull nurses out of retirement, and she was also able to upskill nurses or potential nurses, people who did not have certain certifications. Now she just reported back to me that she generated $50,000 in revenue last week. It continues to go up and up and up. So again, this is a company that has been in development for just over a year. And again, these are two founders, people of color, who in other circumstances might not be given a shot. So when we talk about, again, people and planet, it's about looking for underrepresented founders who have amazing ideas and amazing backgrounds and experiences, and giving them a shot at goal. And then also, how are they really creating good in the world, and in this case, saving actual lives.
Thank you very much, and apologies for mistakenly saying that the fund is closed, but everyone should pay attention to that and reach out to Kate if you're interested to learn more. John, coming to you. I mean, you guys invest at FF, I mean, in tons of areas, as you mentioned. What are some of those few industries, if you could go a little deeper into, that you're very excited about, or you see kind of up and coming for the rest of the year here in 2021 going into 2022?
When you look at the impact of COVID last year and on the economy, for the vast majority of our companies, it was an accelerant. It really brought forward things they didn't think they would be doing until 2023 and 2024 into 2020. And so if we look at the drones space, we have a number of investments there. We're investing in a company out of Ireland called Mana. And what Mana does is last mile delivery of food by drones. And it applies to medicine, and it can apply much broader. But today, every day, They're doing 100+ deliveries in Ireland, where people pull out an app and their coffee gets delivered 5 minutes later by drone. It seems ridiculous, but COVID allowed the acceleration of this to really happen, regulatory approval and the like. And this company is on the cusp of expanding massively globally over the next couple of years in a way that wasn't really possible before. So what we've seen is the reduction of the regulatory hurdles allowed them to get in so many flight hours. They can prove out safety, logistic, business model, and other aspects they just didn't think they would get to in 2020 and 2021. Another example in the robotic space would be a company called Plus One Robotics out of Texas. And what they do is they sort packages as they come down the conveyor belt. It sorts them and puts them where they need to go. This replaces back-breaking work that people would do with robots. And in fact, what they do, they still have people involved. People are in the loop. They're just sitting remotely and they're controlling multiple robots. And when the robot gets confused, they train it. Now all the robots are trained for that particular edge case. And so one person now can manage 5, 10, 20 different conveyor belts as opposed to one person managing one. And as you can imagine, the world of COVID, where you want people separate, it's tremendously beneficial. And again, their end customers moved proof of concepts up much faster because of the change in the world that we've been in. So that's another area in robotics and logistics that really intrigue us and we think are fascinating.
Wow, this is exciting. I mean, if the audience, if you're not excited about where the future is going here in the next 12 months and ready to build, well, let us know. We'll do another episode because I'm ready. This is exciting. Thank you all for sharing all these insights and knowledge with us. And I want to come around for closing thoughts. So anything else that you have to share, but then also any advice you have to entrepreneurs globally that are looking to start taking on their first or second, maybe even third round in that early stage process. And then, of course, where you can be found online for them to continue the conversation with you. Adrian, let's start with you.
First, my closing thought will be especially for early stage founders to dedicate a lot of time to learn how to marketing their pitch deck, how to create their pitch deck, and always when pitching to have in mind also the interests of investors, because at the end of the day, it's all about them, right? I can be found on LinkedIn and of course in many other places, but LinkedIn is my main communication hub. I always respond to messages. Thank you very much for the opportunity to join Venture Capital TV family again.
Thank you very much, Adrian, as well. Vince, to you, any closing thoughts, advice, and then where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
Sure, no problem. You can find me on LinkedIn, Vince Lane. And my advice to entrepreneurs and investors is, we're in an exciting time right now to really take advantage of that, to think big, right? Think globally, think big, think out of this world. We're going to space. It's really an opportunity right now to do something that you could actually really change the world. And since we're talking about early stage and, seed funding, for investors, really take a chance. I mean, I always tell my investors, I have a little funny quote that I always say, you got to risk it to get the biscuit, right? So if you really look at all the trends, look at where the world is headed and really kind of bet on that. And if you believe, look for divergence of technologies. So then you kind of hedge your bet, but really kind of bet and kind of believe in the entrepreneur and really get to know them. And if then it's really just about you and your gut feeling. So
I love it. Risk it to get the biscuit, ladies and gentlemen. The new phrase of the week. If that's not enough to get your second quarter started, reach out and we'll find a different way to do so. But thank you very much, Vince. Kate, to you, closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you, Chloe Capital, and all the great things that you do?
Thank you so much. I never want to be a blocker, so LinkedIn is probably the best place to reach out to me. But if you're interested in applying for any opportunities at Chloe Capital, we have a full team that is on standby waiting for your applications. It's chloecapital.com/funding. We are looking for women-led climate tech companies as our next investment. At Social Venture Circle, please go to svcimpact.org. They use GUST to apply. You should be located in the United States, and you should, of course, have an impact thesis that helps people and planet. And in terms of Republic, if you're interested in crowdfunding, you can now raise up to $5 million. That's republic.co, and you can go ahead and apply right there, and you can mention tell me here. Oh, I do want to give advice, though.
Yes.
Here's some advice. Guard your time with your life. I mean, that's the only thing that we cannot get back. So if there's anyone in your life that is creating any kind of drama or they're siphoning the time away from you, just know that you are on a mission and you are out there to create something for the greater good. So while it may mean some sacrifice, you can buy a lot of time back just when you cut the nonsense out. Another thing is, this is truly a relationships game. It should be more about quality interactions than quantity of interactions. I know right now, specifically during COVID, people are getting pretty savvy with LinkedIn mass communication, messaging, and etc. And listen, as a marketer, there are certain situations where I feel that that's warranted. But when you are raising money, it is truly about the relationship, and you certainly do not want to waste anyone's time. So why would you reach out to someone when you know they are just not a right match for you? You don't want to.
Absolutely wonderful advice, especially as you build your first company. You're going to get a lot of great opportunities, partners, and people wanting to reach out. To Kate's point, pick and choose. It's okay. There will be plenty of opportunities. There's more around the corner, as they say. Susan, to you, closing thoughts.
Sure.
And then where can you be found?
You can definitely find me in LinkedIn and candoventures.com. You can contact us and send us your pitch. My advice, I have two advices for two types of entrepreneurs. One for global entrepreneurs. They tend to not to have any slide or any information on competition. That's wrong. You know, I mean, competition is good. We want to invest on first movers, but we're not investing, or we're not funding the first movers pain. We want to see first movers advantage. But, you know, if you're the first one going to that market, trying to build a market, trying to define a wider space, you know, that's probably, harder battle for us to be your partner. So show us that the concept has been proven by some people who failed, you know, or who got successful, and the market is still big enough for every one of you to capture, right? So that's one thing for international entrepreneurs. Don't be afraid of competition. Show it to us and let us know that you've done your homework. Because if you come to us and say that I don't have any competitors, and we know because we got 10 pitches during this month, you know, around the same space, then, you know, it reflects bad on you. For female entrepreneurs, they tend to have the perfect pitch, perfect technology, perfect everything. You know, I mean, most of the time as a female investor, and I know Kathryn probably agrees with me, and she has seen that most of the time, what you have created is 10 times more perfect than your male counterpart. And, you know, they are coming there and they show the vision. They craft the promise to us. Not everything that can go wrong. Don't focus on all the negatives that can go wrong to, you know, move you out of the space. Just focus on the promise of your technology and the product, and we understand, and we want to be with you to build that. So that's two advice that I have for these two types of entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much, Susan. John, close us out. Closing thoughts, and where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
So the best place to find me is on Twitter, John_Frankel, will find me. I'm reasonably active. So that's the best place to find me online. I think the most important thing to understand, and I think something which the reaction to this pandemic has really shown us, is the world is flat. It's unevenly distributed, There definitely are centers that are interesting, and they come and go over time. Miami and Austin are in the rise right now within the US. But there's some very interesting centers in all around the world. You know, we picked Warsaw in Central and Eastern Europe as a center that we felt was really on the up and coming, and one that we felt was worth spending more time with and digging in. And we have a large team there now. So I think it's important to understand that the costs of starting a company are about the same as the costs of being unemployed. The difference is the drive, the vision, and the capability, but increasingly the capabilities are accessible. You can get training, you can get yourself up to speed. There's so many people I know who would never have learned engineering in school and are learning to code today. So it's incredibly accessible, and it just takes drive, gumption to make things happen. So I think that's important. Access to capital has got much better over the last couple of decades than it's been in the past. Now, not every startup gets funded, only a few. And only about a third of seed-funded companies go to raise an A, and about only a third of A-funded companies go to raise a B. There's a huge drop-off. But find the right partner out there that can help you navigate this and help you grow to be a big, successful company and really make a difference. What's wonderful today is anybody can make a difference. Anybody can affect and change the behavior of millions of people by just coming up with a better solution. And what a great world to live in, and what a great time to be around. And let's not forget, you know, we're technology investors, but look at the technology that has brought vaccines to market in months as opposed to years. Vaccines whose efficacy and capability are off the charts versus expectations, and hopefully will make this pandemic a thing of the past far more rapidly than it would have naturally taken course to.
Wonderful. Again, everyone, thank you so much again for sharing the thoughts and insights, for all the great expert knowledge shared today. To our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, make sure you click subscribe and reach out to all of our investors on the panel today. Make sure you add context where you heard them, where you met them, and what you would like to continue the conversation about, as they're all open on social media, living all our lives more digital than ever. And with that, a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making today's episode possible here on VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me along with all of our panelists online 24/7, 365. Again, please do reach out. We'd all love to hear from you. With that, we'll be taking a short break until tomorrow, and we're back here with more VCTV. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.